Yeah, hi, hello everyone. It's nice to have you here. So yeah, I am Ophélie, the senior AI specialist at the Alexandra Institute, focusing on NLP. And this is an introduction to NLP. So I will give you some examples of what it can be used for, why it is still a hard problem, especially for languages with few resources. And I have a focus on Danish. And then I will give you some ideas of how to overcome these difficulties. So first, what is NLP? NLP is a subpart of the artificial intelligence field, and some would say that it's also a subpart of machine learning. I would say it's more using machine learning, because NLP is not only this. And of course, today it's mostly using deep learning, actually. So NLP is computational solution that solves problems involving human language. That can be text or speech. It's used for extracting information from unstructured data to structured and relevant data, or for generating text, for example. It can be used for analyzing, understanding, classifying text, and of course for automatizing manual process to speed up your workflow. In research, we can say that NLP is divided into large methods: sequence tagging and text classification. Sequence tagging is at the sentence level. It means that you have a sentence as input, and you tag each word in the sentence with, for example, part of speech tagging, which is about tagging each word as a noun, a verb, or an adjective. With named entity recognition, you can tag each word as, is it the name of a person, or a location, or an organization. Text classification is at the document level. A document here can be seen as, it can be a book, or it can be a paragraph, or it can actually be a sentence. And then you classify this document into a category. For example, in hate speech detection, you categorize a sentence as including hate speech or not. For sentiment analysis, it's about categorizing it into positive, negative, or neutral. Yeah. In your business, it could be used internally for analyzing social media, for example, email classification, or to help you moderate comments. Externally, it could be used for recommending your customers some articles, or for building a chatbot. Of course, nowadays it's used every day by everyone, everywhere, and you all know these really famous companies that use NLP successfully. Next. Yeah, so all these companies, they can make it look like it's easy to use NLP, but what is important to note is that these companies have a lot of resources, of course, money, manpower, and data. They are also really good at marketing. They apply NLP to specific cases that works really well, and mostly English is used. Of course, more and more languages are used, but it's important to know why it's hard for languages with few resources and for small businesses, and how to overcome this problem. So why NLP is still a hard problem, in particular for Danish? Here I will talk about two different aspects: the language complexity and the practical challenge of the lack of resources. So first, language is ambiguous. The meaning of the words depends on the context. For example, one word can have two different roles. Here in Danish, smør can be a verb or a noun. Here is another example in English, where fish can also be a verb and a noun. So the language is ambiguous, but there are tools to deal with that. Here, it would be part of speech tagging, and it's that actually reaches really high accuracy nowadays, even for Danish. But it's still possible that it can fail. It's important to know. Next, then we can also have the same word with two different meanings. For example, in Danish, blad can mean leaf or magazine. And this can be solved with the word sense disambiguation task. That can be also used next for helping with machine translation or information retrieval. A same word can also have different references. In this sentence, for example, look at this picture of a cat. I shot it. What did I shot? The cat or the picture? It sounds obvious to you because you have knowledge about the world, but for a computer, it's a bit more complicated. And for that, you can use coreference resolution to help you with that. Here you have another example with the sentence, I like my doctor because he is nice, she said. Here you want to know that she refers to I and he refers to doctor, but because it's a long distance relation, it's difficult. The same word can also have two different attachments. In the sentence, I see a girl with a telescope. Is it me or is it a girl who has a telescope? It's actually a question we cannot answer without a context of where we are, what it's about. So here the language is just ambiguous. Dependency parsing can help with that. Dependency parsing is about finding the relation between the words in the sentence. For example, which word is the subject of the main verb, which word is the object. And this can be used to help with question answering, for example. So we have seen that the meaning of words depend on the context. A second problem is also the large vocabulary. So the vocabulary is large and continuously evolving. For example, every day we have new words that are added to the dictionary, new entities, slang words, or words borrowed from other languages. You know that a lot of English words are used in Danish, for example. Then human can make mistakes, which makes it even more difficult for the computer to understand what is going on. Some languages have a rich morphology, which is not the case for English, but for Danish, for example, the definite and the plural are added at the end of the word, which makes the vocabulary even larger. And Danish also includes word combination, which is also not a problem in English. So now, how can you actually overcome this language complexity? The first answer is more data. If you have more data, you have a better coverage. The second answer is new technology, use new methods. But usually new technologies require more data to be trained on. So the solution at the end is always sort of the same, more data. Now it's important to talk about this data. You have heard, of course, that data is gold. I would say annotated data is gold, is the real gold in a world where machine learning is everywhere. So here I am in the case of supervised learning, where I need data, so annotated data, so where we have text and tags associated to this text. So either for, like I said before, text classification, you have a text and one category associated to this text, or you have a sentence and a category associated to each of the words in the sentence. And that is the manual tags that you have to annotate on your text to be able to build models. So data is scarce. The global difficulties are that annotating data is, of course, expensive. It costs time and money. And data sets are often domain-specific and biased. So one data set is probably focused on one media. It could be writing, video, or picture. On one modality, it could be text or speech or science. These are only examples. It could be one domain, literature, journalistic, social media. So if you have a model that is trained on journalistic text, for example, it's not going to work as well on social media speech, for example. And in Danish, of course, as I said, the language is morphologically rich, and the data sets that are available for Danish are usually small, domain-specific, and mostly available for research purposes. So where can you actually start? Ask yourself the right question as a company. What do you want to do? Do you want to speed up your workflow? Do you want to analyze customer data? Then, do you have data? Or can you use existing models or existing data sets that are available? If you don't have data, or if you do have data, but you don't know if it's actually annotated data, you should ask yourself, should you actually take the time to annotate data? It takes a lot of time, but it can be really valuable. But one other answer is that maybe you can extract data from your workflow, because every day you do manual process with text, like classifying emails, for example. Maybe you can extract this information, and then you will have automatically annotated data. So what can you actually do? If you have data, annotated data, congratulations, you're in a really good spot. You can train a specialized model adapted to your domain. But if you don't have data, there are solutions. There are existing models. Of course, they might not be exactly adapted to your domain, but it might be good enough. You can also use unsupervised learning, for example, using clustering, keyword extraction. You can use data augmentation. If you have few data, it's possible to create more data artificially or with synthetic data generation. From structured data, you can create synthetic automatic data. Or you can use transfer learning using data from other languages. For example, you can use data sets in Norwegian that could work on Danish. Now I will have a focus on Danish NLP, because that's one of the projects we focus on at the Alexandra Institute. So this project is called DaNLP. The aim is to bridge the gap between the latest research in NLP and concrete commercial needs. So DaNLP is an open source repository. It's also a website where you can find a demo for some of our basic NLP tools for Danish, and a blog where you can read more. And it's also a network of researchers and companies. So the DaNLP Github, which is also a Python package, the goal is to facilitate the access and use of Danish NLP to data sets and models for commercial use, which is really important. Because, as I said before, a lot of data are available for research purpose only, but our goal is to make it available for companies. And here you can see a list of the different tasks we have worked on and the data sets and model we have made available. So we have part of speech tagging, dependency parsing. For entities, we have named entity recognition, named entity disambiguation, and coreference resolution. For text classification, we have sentiment analysis and hate speech detection. And we have, of course, also embeddings, data sets, and tutorials. So what we do is annotating data, sometimes training models a lot, writing tutorials for you to understand better how you can use these models and data sets. And what you can do is to use these models and these data sets on your own text. You can learn more, and you can also contribute to the Danish NLP community. Here's a sneak peek of the DaNLP website, where you can also access to the demo and the Medium blog to learn more about NLP. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Hello. So I am Ellen. I am joining this webinar from Silo AI. I am working as an NLP specialist in Silo now. And today I will talk about one specific project that we have in NLP. Thanks, Ophélie, for a great introduction to NLP. And now I will give like one concrete example of how we can use NLP and be useful. So this project is about UNAIDS. UNAIDS is a part of United Nations and is the most authorized organization which fight against AIDS in the world. And UNAIDS aim to end AIDS as a public threat by 2030. And UNAIDS generates strategic information and analyzes that increases the understanding of the state of the AIDS epidemic and progress. So this is important that they are dealing with a very crucial data, and it leads UNAIDS leads the world's most extensive data collection on HIV epidemiology. And UNAIDS also produce data for impact. No major reports, speech, or policy initiative on HIV has been launched or made without referring to the data collected or released by UNAIDS. So the motivation of this project. So it's similar to other AI projects. First is like decreasing workload. Any decrease in workload will be very sufficient for this organization. And time here is really a matter because it's matter of life or death. So it's very important that UNAIDS reach to the information very quickly before someone die. And accuracy here is also very important because let's say that 1% of error means like 1% of more deaths. So this is also very crucial in this project. And also UNAIDS needs to publish lots of statistics, graphics, and like graphs about the data and like HIV related data. So the data should be ready for analyze and easy for analyze. So in one part of this project is data collection. So we will help UNAIDS to collect data because more data means here more information and better intervention for UNAIDS, and then less infection, more recovery, and then finally less death. So we will start by helping them to collect data and search for the more relevant data because UNAIDS all kind of documents, reports, let's say like NGOs report, health ministries reports, other like health groups or like active groups in this area, in HIV area, is more valuable for UNAIDS, and they want to collect them. Like they don't want to miss any information in this area. And so here, okay, so at the moment, UNAIDS has one online tool. I think something happened to this slides, but that's fine. I will try to do my best to explain it. So the process is like this. UNAIDS has one online tool, let's say repository, which country representatives, reporters have access to that. So every year, country reporters or representatives, they are entering data in this repository. And how they do this, they go through lots of documents, reports from different sources. Let's say, like, for example, like Denmark is looking to the health ministry data and laboratories reports. I don't know, other like NGO reports or some other resources, which can be like 100 pages of like reports. So they are going through this data and finding important fields inside those reports and enter to the online tool, the like UNAIDS repository. And UNAIDS agent is going through this data every year and tries to evaluate it and tries to find errors there. And if could find the error there, then they will send a message and like ask for a correction or for some like explanation. So this is the concrete part of their workflow, and we will help them in with this tool. So hard task here is, let's say for country reporters, is going through the lots of information. And just to give an example, there are around like 50 indicators here. Indicators means here like in UNAIDS they have different kind of indicators. For example, like at the people who have had a HIV test, people who people who are in the like risk groups of the like having AIDS, or like people who are using like drug injection. So these are kind of indicators, and they have roughly like 40 indicators here. And for each of them, then they have like key populations. For example, like gay people, sex workers, and drug users. So these are like key populations. And then again, they have like gender disaggregation, age disaggregation for all of them. So you see here, like the data doesn't have one dimension. Data has like 3 dimensions here. And if you multiply this thing, you will figure out that how many fields they have to fill every year. So it's like hundreds of fields. They have to go through different like unstructured data. They sometimes they refer to some brochures, sometimes they refer to some Excel file, sometimes some normal like let's say 200 pages of Word document. So they go through those and find like relevant fields and enter to the online tool or repository. So you see how massive is their work. And then again, for UNAIDS agent, going through all fields also is massive, because they are also using the same documents, also different sources. to go through that and evaluate evaluate the entered data. So this is quite massive work for both sides. What we will do here is we will pre-populate this online tool. We will go through these documents in different formats. It doesn't matter, is it PDF, Excel file, picture, or what kind of information. We will turn all of them into the text because we are solving this this problem with NLP, and then we will go through all those texts and we will find those information. I mean those relevant information through the documents, and we will pre-populate. We will pre-enter the data for country reporters. So they don't have to go through all documents. They will open the online tool, they will upload their documents there, and then they will have the pre-populate form there. And then we will show to evaluate what we have pre-populated. We will show the sentences that we could find entities. By entities, I mean the piece of information that we need to put in a relevant field in the online tool. So we will show them, okay, we found like a number of sex workers is this, and we found it inside this paragraph or inside this sentence. So by summarization here we means showing sentences that we are important, like carrying the important information. Like in NLP, we call it like extractive summarization because we just extract something. We are not generating new sentences here. So, so the country reporter will see the sentence and will evaluate that, okay, the number of sex workers is this because he or she will able to see it inside the context. It's the same, the process is the same actually for the UNAIDS agent. She or he will go through the she or he will go through the fields and we will see extracted information, or here not extracted one because before country reporter will see the will fill the confirm the form and will send it to the UNAIDS. And then UNAIDS agent will open it and will check and evaluate if information is correctly entered. So actually the same process. They will use the same summarization tool to see like if data is correctly entered or not. So this will be easy to evaluate, let's say. Yes, the next one. So evaluation part, I think I talked about that, but it's still a huge step in UNAIDS side because they have to go through all fields, evaluate that, and then like have a write to country reporter that you can't say this is not true because of this, and then they will get answer in 1 month, 2 months, who knows, from the country representative. So we will shorten these steps also, because by extracting information automatically, and we will help to reduce errors here, and also we will automatize. Next slide, please. So we will automatize this evaluation in a maximum way that some fields automatically will reply that you can't say this because according to previous data, according to the that Excel file, which is trustable for UNAIDS, you can't say this. Or according to that graph, according to that like statistics, you can't like change the number from 100,000 to just like 10. That's impossible. So this will go like automatically, so they don't need to like UNAIDS agent don't have to write it manually to the country reporter and get the answer, and again like having this long and time-consuming step there. So this one also will be part of this project, which will release workload a lot here. So yes, I think I was a little bit quick, but these are the headlines of this project. Please feel free to ask more questions if you have, so I can go through it and give you more detail if you want. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you to both of you, or all of you, also to you, Ståle. I'll just stop sharing my screen, I think. And then you can actually, have a quick round of questions. You can write in the chat. Now I'm also able to see the chat. But I actually have one question. If you can, what would you advice be? And it's both for Ophélie and Elin. For someone who would like to see if using NLP could be like add some value to their business. You had something about the data, Ophélie, if you have some or if you have none, and what is the goal? But do you have some answers, maybe, Elin, about what your advice would be?
So I would say that data, if we roughly think about data is prepared in some ways, right? In image, in speech, or text. So you see that huge part of data is in text or speech, which is related to NLP. So, and nowadays many companies are like storing their data in unstructured way, just in like file systems. So it's very important to use NLP to deal with the data, to structuralize it first, or to extract information. Let's say that you have lots of like financial documents, like invoices, and you want to have like valuable information, extract valuable information from there, because many companies still are using traditional way to prepare like invoices. They don't have like database for that. They just like prepare it in Word document and send it, if they are not scan it even. So you see that when it comes to data, NLP is like a very, very important, because a huge part of data is in text. Yes.
Thank you. I was about to say, Ophélie, that you could maybe add some there, but then there was a question about if you could comment about techniques that allow to identify the context, for example, when using VR. Is there such technology? Question mark.
Could you precise maybe what you mean by identify the context?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can speak because writing will be long. You talk about one of the biggest problems in NLP is identifying the context when there is, for example, a word tagging. So you show a couple of examples where there is an ambiguity between the words used. So my question is there a technique in NLP that allows you to identify the context where those words are present?
So you mean the context, like
Yes.
the sentences around, or like the whole paragraph around the sentence you're looking at?
Exactly, like when you, for example, especially when you mentioned the example of the fish, like I'm eating fish, but the computer can understand like I'm fishing, or I don't know, something like that, this type of ambiguity.
Yeah. Yeah, for name entity recognition, that's a bit special because we really look only at the sentence. But I'm thinking that new methods that are using knowledge graph, for example, could be used. It's more and more studied, but there are not so many methods like that yet that prove that they make a lot of difference. But yeah, word knowledge can be integrated into the algorithms. So this is there. It's not really about the context of the sentence. It's more about getting information from other sources like Wikipedia or Wikidata. Yeah, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for the question. Yeah, so also have a question here, and that's, of course, now you mentioned a few cases here, but maybe you can mention some other classical uses of this NLP stuff that you have been working with or heard about. Elin, maybe for you first, and then Ophélie.
Yes, like saying classical is like, okay, in last 10 years, NLP is like more famous. So maybe we can say classical. And I think the most, one of most in like famous cases are information extraction from business documents. As I mentioned, like invoices, like financial documents. So extracting, like as here someone mentioned, like name entity recognition is also very like is very popular, and also like key value extraction, which means like you are looking for some pair of information inside the document. So you want to structuralize that and put it inside your database. Let's say like you have address, and then you have the word address, and then you have the real address. So you want to find these pairs inside the document. Or let's say that you have some purchase order, and you want to have the number of purchase order there. Or what else can you say, like like I just want to give examples in business area. I don't want to talk about like machine translation or all those kind of like fancy things that nowadays are very, very nice to have. But in business specific things, I think extracting information from documents are most relevant things here.
Yes. And Ophélie, do you have a couple of more cases, maybe?
I would say that in the context of companies, what I've seen a lot more is the need of anonymization. Yeah, companies who want to use name entity recognition for anonymizing documents. It's extremely important now, especially with GDPR laws. In the context of research, I would say that right now what is hyped is like fake news detection or misinformation detection. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about as extra examples.
I know you did something with this Ego Libris case. Was how to use AI to spot the next bestseller. I just think that's quite.
In this case, we use a lot of different models to yes, try to categorize a book as good or not. So we look at the sentiment profile of the book to try to categorize in which archetype it is, and which is the genre of the book, to which audience it should be targeted. And also, we also use named entity recognition to find the characters and the locations. Yeah, there are a lot of things we can do on the books.
Yeah, like product review is also important. People want to know, like, other people, how do you think about their product, so this is also one field of NLP which is popular. When they are using like a social media, they want to know like the feeling of the comment which is written there. They don't have time to go through all comments and read those. They just want to know, is it positive or negative? So this is also one field.
Okay.
One question more.
Yes, yeah.
It's a short and not so complicated. What about, it's for Ellen actually, what about UNAIDS is receiving reports on different languages? So is something, the NER technique can be utilized for different languages?
So as Ophélie said, like we have quite nice and sufficient data in English language, but in UNAIDS case, the other languages which are in scope are like Russian, Spanish, and French. Those languages are also not far from English. So I'm not saying the same language, but nowadays there are quite nice tools to translate from those languages to English, and they are quite like accurate. They work quite with high accuracy. So in this case, we plan to use a kind of like translation between languages, but it can't be useful all the time. So we can't use like that for Finnish language and English language. So we always have this problem with less like with low resources languages like Finnish, Danish, or other like small languages. But in this case, I think we are lucky. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I can add something about using different languages. There is also the possibility to combine different languages, multiple data sets from different languages that are quite similar. For example, there is this new NER model that has been trained on Scandinavian languages, and it actually performs much better on Danish data sets. So combining Norwegian, Icelandic, Swedish together to train one big model was really efficient to improve the accuracy of the NER model.
When you are talking about this training, are you referring to deep learning or something else?
To what, sorry?
When you are talking about the training models from different languages, such as the Scandinavian model, that do you mean training as deep learning, like you are training? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want the reference, I'm talking about it's called Scandi NER. You can find it on Hugging Face.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions and the answers, not at least. Does anybody out there want to ask something more? You can just think for a while I'm I think I'll say thank you, and we are going to send you an email with this recording and with some links and a couple of articles or some blogs that you can dive into, and also the contact info both on Silo AI and Alexandra Institute. So if nobody's here on now, yes, maybe. Thank you, both the speakers, for this interesting talk. I couldn't have said it better. So I think we're done here, and we're going out to find all the new NLP cases, and there's a lot of stuff to do, I can imagine. So thank you so much, and Ståle, maybe also you will have a final word.
No, I just know. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Marlene, and you, Ophélie, for inviting Elin and myself to this webinar. It's been a pleasure, and thank you to all the participants for listening in and for sharing your questions. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. Well,
Goodbye.
have a nice Tuesday, all of you, and thanks.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.